But are not quite as hot as I would like it. But I shouldn't be staying in there very long anyway, because I have too many things to do, and I have not wanted to leave the house. Now I have no choice. Now I have no choice. I have not wanted to leave the house. I've just wanted to mope and cry. Water's nice, it's just not quite as really hot as I'd like it to be. It's nice. It'll do. Almost. It'll do. We have things to do. We don't have any food. Pick up staples like lemons, bananas, organic lemons, the Chobani yogurt that my mom eats, the Breakstone Devil's cottage cheese that we both eat. It's one of the few non-organic, non-healthy products that I eat. Or I could do a grocery delivery order. Some things I just pick up in person. I was watching Dateline, and I wonder sitting there and doing nothing. Mom, you gotta not do nothing. Can't just sit and do nothing. Even if Dateline is challenging, like it stimulates your mind. It's better than sitting and doing nothing. Anything's better than sitting and doing nothing. I put a Dateline on for her. There's so many to choose from. I just picked one. I'm like, have you seen this one? Look at this one that's got a picture. Like, no, I haven't seen. Good, but you watch it. It's called The Sisterhood. And interestingly enough, it's about a woman who appeared to have died, who have fallen in the shower, which I have feared would happen to me and could have happened to me 6 years ago when I fainted and felt faint and got out in time. That could have been me, but it's on Dateline, which means her awful husband actually murdered her, but it's hard to prove, extremely difficult to prove. But it wouldn't be on Dateline if they hadn't proved it. So he hadn't been found guilty. Probably, I don't think they put it on Dateline unless the person is found guilty. It's fitting, I suppose. Oops. I got my mama's lock and forgot to have it. Can't do that. I'll have no idea how long I'm in here and I have too much to do. From the vanity. I brought it in here, I just didn't. Watching that and I'm like, see, Mom? This woman, Stacy, was murdered. We know that. Again, it wouldn't be on Dateline if she wasn't murdered, and they hadn't proved it somehow. But it's very difficult to prove. They lure you in, though. I started watching it a little bit because I was eating my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. jelly's polliner or something. So I think it's non-GMO. It's not organic, but it's non-GMO. Pete's organic bread, good seed, thin sliced, and organic peanut butter. So glad we discovered that. Comes in a glass jar. That's why I reported those Simple Truth apple cider vinegars that used to come in a glass jar, and to cut costs, they changed it, but you can't tell, and they don't say it, and people are mad. And I got them from Vitacost, and I'm like, you know, I don't want these. I'd be happy to return them if you send me a label. I haven't checked to see if they got back to me. I sent them the pictures, even though they gave me 2 days later. They're like, just one hand doesn't know what the other's doing. Vitacost has gone downhill, I'm sad to say. Anyhow, I don't want to spend a million years in here. But I have learned the hard way to shave very, very carefully my over 40 inches from toe to hip, a la Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, one of my all-time favorite movies that I've seen probably 3 times. The Notebook's one of my all-time favorite movies. Should probably watch that again because I haven't seen it in so long. Regardless of the specific reason for my baby dying like that, shockingly, suddenly, I'll never know the real reason. I'll never know. What I do know is he wouldn't have died had he not been so old. The thing is, his age of almost 16 and a half is equivalent to a really old person. I heard it actually doesn't apply across the board as a fallacy. It's not really true in every situation that it's an automatic dog years are 7 people years. But even if you said it's 5 years, he'd still be 80. He'd still be, you know, old. And he lived, thanks to me, a really, really good life. That dog was spoiled rotten. He was the most wonderful dog. Just the most, and he was spoiled rotten, okay? Even though my abusive, my asshole ex treated me like shit, psychologically, emotionally, pseudo-sexually, but not physically till the end. He treated Omar wonderfully. Do I believe that Donald genuinely loved Omar? No. I don't, because I think Donald hated himself. So I don't think Donald genuinely loved Omar, but he loved that Omar loved him. So he treated Omar really good. I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and say Donna could have left me dead or dying, bleeding to death, terrified, etc. At the bottom of that hill where he'd shoved me violently down in a fit of rage. And he knew that I was down there. He didn't know if I was dead. For all he knew, he had killed me and he'd be going to jail. We had 2 male witnesses. They saw what happened and they saw him take off. That's why they said, you want us to call the police? We saw what happened. And we saw him take off. Like, no, I don't want to ruin his life. You know, famous last words of a long-time abuse victim where you don't matter, only they matter. They've convinced you of that. Anyhow, point being, I don't believe that anyone who can do that to someone else genuinely loves anything. So I don't believe that, you know. I think you can hate yourself and still love. Because it's very complicated. But I don't think where you know, there are people that hate themselves and turn like Donald cruel and mean and all that. I think that you can hate yourself or whatever and still love others and love animals and whatnot. But not if you allow it to turn you into what Donald allowed, his self-hatred, and he also had world hatred, and to turn him into. It's that simple. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. Especially when Donald would pretend or say he was upset about, you know, police brutality or what happened to that guy in California, that homeless guy who was fortunate enough that he was so you never know who you're hurting, you know. They thought they could get away with it. There were tons of witnesses, and it turned out he was the son of an ex-police chief, so they weren't going to drop it and just let those monsters who collectively beat the man to death when he was already on the ground and screaming, Father, Father, help me. And what was his name? Thomas something. Anyhow, so Donald could profess to care about all that kind of crap, but treat me like shit because I deserve it. No, I don't think so. And he might have loved Omar, but he didn't want to, you know, he would have stopped loving Omar. Omar didn't go blind because Omar was with me. Omar would have gone blind regardless, and he would have been long dead. So, because Donald wouldn't have ever, neither Donald nor his mom. Oh, Perito's hungry. I have to give him potato chips, and I have to give him cans of beans instead of understanding that just he's always going to be hungry, and if he had his druthers, he would be super obese. Hope. But Perito's hungry. I'm angry, fucking cunt. Perito's Pugs are designed to be hungry, Hope. Doesn't mean you feed them everything they want. That's why they get so fat. They can't. Only the owners can control that. They would eat till they got obese. You're too ignorant to understand that. And you get to live on your high horse about my mom. Diagnosed over half her life, schizophrenic, and you just get to live on your high horse and be like, you know, this, that, and what have you. I wasn't at that time diagnosed with anything, but it runs rampant through my family, so, on my mom's side anyway. In any case, I think Hope had some screws loose, but regardless, outwardly they worshipped Omar and loved Omar, but they weren't going to invest a penny in him, and he would have been not only long dead, but might have severely suffered, which he didn't with me. Maybe at the very end he was suffering, but it's a judgment call that millions upon millions of pet owners have to make. And I had Omar at the vets all the time, and I was in constant communication with the vet. I didn't make any decision alone. I consulted with our 8-9 year vet about whether I needed to non-selfishly put Omar to sleep, have him euthanized, and she didn't feel it was necessary. So in the end, what happened? We're never gonna know. We're never gonna know what happened. We're never gonna know. Never gonna know. But the brutal shockingness, just shocking. What we do know is his suffering only lasted a minute or even seconds. It might not even have been a minute, it might have been mere seconds. Which is much better than long, prolonged suffering. How I know it was mere seconds or 1 minute, or just because he was crying one moment, and the minute he started crying loud, I was standing right there, and I instantly realized that, I didn't realize instantly, but I knew something horrible that I didn't witness had happened. And that's when I'm screaming and crying and putting water on his head and not believing he's dead, and oh my God. The bottom line is, was there something underlying that wasn't showing up in blood tests, or more importantly, forget about blood tests. They don't show a lot of things. He wasn't showing any outward signs of being sick. He wasn't throwing up. He wasn't having diarrhea. He was having perfect bowel movements. He was regularly peeing. There was no blood. There was no throw up. There was no diarrhea. There was nothing that would indicate anything going on with him on the inside. So even if he's in that soft carrier and somehow snapped his neck or something, which I don't know if that happened. I couldn't tell if that had happened or if he'd had a heart attack or what. But what I do know is that had he not been so old, none of that would have happened. Had he not been so old, none of that would have happened. That's the thing. And I can't complain when I had 16 and a half years with him. I can cry, I can grieve, but I definitely can't complain. And yet we complain anyway. You know, you can have someone who lives to be 100 in your life, and that's a long life, and you can't complain. I've known people like that, and they act like the person died at age 20 or something. It's like, you can't complain if your loved one lives to be in their 90s. But emotions are not intellectually derived from anything intellectual. They're just your emotions. And I can sit here and say, well, Omar was so healthy his whole life. I just thought he'd be a dog that lived even longer, lived to be one of those exceptions that lived, to be 18, 19, 20, but you don't want them to live that long if they're suffering anyway, so I think maybe a lot of those dogs are suffering, but again, not to the extent where you feel like you have to have them euthanized. I don't know. It's the first time I've ever experienced this, and it's going to be the last. Another neighbor, are you going to get another one? No. Oh, you say that now, but, not to replace the one you have, just for the love. No, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting another one. No. I'm just going to grieve and accept my sorrow that is just innate to me. Always has been, always will be. I'm not gonna try to depend on another animal. It'd be interesting if my mom had already got one or gotten the cat she wanted. Then we'd have the cat. But I think she's decided against that. It's for the best, I think. If she had gotten another one, I would have obviously grown to love if she'd gotten a dog like she wanted while I was at Joe's, and potentially staying with Joe for permanent. And then we'd have another one. And if something happened to my mom, I would have to take care of it. And I would grow to love it. So, but on my own, no, I am not getting another one. I'm just gonna grieve the one I was blessed with for 16 and a half, almost fucking years. You know, you can't complain intellectually, but you do complain. Which is why a friend said, you want them to live forever, but it doesn't happen. A friend who's experienced it. A friend who has experienced it. If you have not experienced it, then you don't relate. Even if you've had people die, you don't relate. You relate to, but it's different because if you've not had a pet die on you, but you've had people, you sometimes might tend to trivialize the pain somebody who's lost a beloved to them pet is going through. And that was played out perfectly in a really good episode of Mom. But Bonnie didn't understand for the life of her why Adam was grieving for weeks over his dog that had lived a very long time, and nothing lasts forever, just like my own. And he was grieving, and she was like, it's just a dog, why hasn't he stopped grieving? And someone made her realize, I forget how, I'd have to watch the episode again. I'd have to watch the episode again. It was a good episode I could find, maybe, but they're not always available anymore. Not on demand anyway. Not if not paying, but I don't know. It was a good episode because it teaches people too that you cannot control somebody's grief. You can't say, well, you shouldn't, I've decided that you should not still be in pain over your deceased loved one, be it an animal or be it a beloved pet or a person beloved to you. You can't dictate how somebody grieves. You just can't. You've got to let them grieve in their own way, even if you view it as they need to get over it or, or appreciate what you have. Any and all of the above. Today I'll be going out for a long time. Not just for a little bit like I went out a few days after I passed away. Today's going to be for many hours. I made sure I ate enough so I don't faint in the hot bath or a subsequent shower. I'm shaving very, very carefully because the prize is to not have another cut that's going to form another scar on what I've always viewed as my best feature, which are my legs. Other people have viewed other things as my best feature. I view my legs. My legs and my natural blonde, baby fine, but tons of it hair. gigs are the end result of decades, 3 decades of walking everywhere. More than 3 decades, I guess. Yeah. It started in high school, so more than 4 decades. 4, 40, 50, no, so more than 3 decades of walking everywhere. And then blue, sad, you're the only life to set to I hope Gina wins the voice. I don't know if she will. She's right up there anyway. Audience is voting now. I like Gina the best. I thought she did a phenomenal job with Chris Isaac's Wicked Game. That's why Niall chose her as his 2 finale contestants. Riley Tate's only 15. He's a little, I don't know. He'll probably have I just hope Gina gets it. We'll see. Some of them that made it kind of far, including, sorry, but the deaf woman, Ali. And I agree that we don't think, I mean, even though she's fantastic compared to regular people, I don't think that she's phenomenal enough to like make it in the business that's so competitive. I don't think so. As in, I think she'll be able to sing in church if she goes to church or sing for family and friends. But I do not think that she'll actually have a working career, like making money. I could be wrong. She's not the only one I felt that way about. She's the one that stands out for me, but she was sent over to she was sent to the playoffs from the knockouts, and I didn't think the one that Kelly chose her over was someone who's gonna like actually make it as a career. It doesn't mean you're not a phenomenal singer. Look at all the thousands on the American Idol. It just means that you're not, most of them are not going to, even when you make it to the top 10, you're not going to go on to have like this fantastic career, because only the absolute phenomenal, special, best of the best make it in anything in their field of entertainment, even if you're just as good or almost as good or better than a lot of people who do make it. It's just the nature